The tortoise, oops. Should it be on? The Tortoise by Ogden Nash. Come, come, crown my brow with leaves of myrtle. I know the tortoise is a turtle. Come carve my name in stone immortal. I know the tortoise is a tortle. I know to my profound despair, I bet on one to beat a hare. I also know I'm now a pauper because of its turtly torpor.
Good morning. Welcome to First Church in Boston. I'm Ellie Miller. I'm co-chair of the Music Committee and a recently retired member of the Standing Committee, the Governing Board of First Church. We are glad you're with us online or in person here in our magnificent Paul Rudolph Sanctuary. Special welcome to any visitors. Please stay after the service for coffee hour and for a chance to talk with the Reverend Stephanie or myself or any other member about the church or about Unitarian Universalism. You can also visit our website, firstchurchboston.org, for further information. We have a few additional announcements. The learning community will meet today at 12:30 to discuss the vote on Article 2 of the UUA bylaws. This meeting will be available in person or online with the link to be distributed by email at noon. This vote could change Article 2 of the existing bylaws concerning shared purposes and values of the member congregations. Reverend Stephanie will give an overview of the process to date, including summaries of pro and con positions, and will moderate a discussion of the topic. A light lunch will also be available. The chapel needs some revitalizing before summer services begin on June 16th. We're putting together a team of 5 to 6 people to paint on Tuesday, June 4th from 9:30 till 2. Lunch and music to paint by will be provided. If you're interested, please let Janine Mudge know. Next Sunday is our annual Flower Communion. In a joyful service marking the end of the church year, we will lift up both the celebration of LGBTQ Pride Month and our traditional Flower Communion. Please bring a flower of your choice to the service, and when you arrive, place it in the vases in the front of the sanctuary. Extra flowers will also be available from our greeters. Also next Sunday, there will be an all-church barbecue from noon till 1:30, hot dogs, hamburgers, turkey burgers, and I hope veggie burgers and potato salad will be provided, as well as water and soft drinks. We ask members and friends to bring a side dish. Friends and family are certainly welcome. Any questions? Ask, you know who, Janine or David. Thank you again for being here today. Let our service now begin.
Welcome to you who arrived or logged in alone. Welcome to you who arrived beside another. Welcome to you who feel like a stranger. Welcome to you who feel at home. Welcome to you who are a longtime you, and welcome to you who aren't sure what that is. Unitarian Universalist, it's a long name and a long story. Welcome to each of you and to all of you as we gather today for an hour together. Together, may we each find a bit of what we are seeking, and may we all find joy and comfort in being with others on the journey. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit as we say together the First Church Boston affirmation and light our chalice, symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please take a moment now to greet one another, waving at the camera below the clock to the folks online. Who wins? Who wins? Please.
We're gonna learn. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Oh, you don't need that. Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Oh, nice. Okay, I understand you've done this song before. I was told that you did it quite a bit some years ago, and Reverend Stephanie has decided we're going to do it again. It's a really cool piece. I want to teach everybody every part, and then you can decide what part. The first part I'm going to teach you, no matter what, you can always go to that one because it's an easy one. So play the piece, and then you play that low part. Breathe in, breathe out with me. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. One more time now. Breathe in, breathe out. Good. That's excellent. So no matter what happens, if you feel you're lost, go for that. Okay? And then the next part, which is fun, it's the melody part at the top line. For those of you that are music readers, it's when I breathe in, I'll breathe out in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out peace. when I breathe out. I'll breathe out love. One more time. When I breathe in, I'll breathe out peace. Sorry. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. And for you ambitious seekers, we have a descant. Choir, sing along just that melody, and I'll just sing your regular parts, and I'm going to give the descant for you. 1, 2, 3. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. One more time. When I breathe in, I breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I breathe out love. You're hired. Let's do it. No matter what you sing, it's going to be right. A little introduction.
Purse. My pronouns are he, him, and his. And something I bet most of you don't know is that 27 years ago, 28 years ago, I was a student minister with Sheldon Bennett, your own Sheldon Bennett here in Quincy. And I remember that as part of their service, they had a silent meditation. And I never knew how long to hold that silence. And so I would end very quickly because I got nervous with all the silence. And Sheldon said, no, just hold it. And when you start hearing more and more people's feet shuffling, that's when you can end it. But people need that silence. And it's like that, it's like just like this song we just sang, isn't it? Like you need, like, there's a part of me that sort of felt like, okay, 2 times through is good, right? Oh no, this is a meditation. We're gonna breathe in and breathe out. That was so great. Good hymn choice. Well done. My story this morning, I want to preface it by saying, the first part of it, I'm going to start telling the story, and you're going to think, Hank's already told this story. And it's just that it's a familiar theme that shows up in many stories. All right, so just don't get nervous that I'm about to tell you the story you've already heard, because you haven't heard it, at least not from me. Once upon a time, when the geese drank wine and the monkeys chewed tobacco up a tree, there was an elderly Irish farmer lying on his deathbed. And his 3 sons were not getting along, and he worried about the future of his family. So that's the part you've heard before, because that shows up in a lot of different stories. But as he lay there on his deathbed, he thought, oh, my sons, they're arguing with each other. And I can only imagine that when I die, the farm will be split up amongst the 3 of them, and they're going to argue about who has the better land. And then their children will argue, and they'll split up the land even further. And soon there'll be nothing left for any of the family. So he had an idea, and he called in his 3 sons, but he told the eldest son, he said, before you come, I want you to gather up a great bundle of sticks, tie them together, and come in. So sure enough, the 3 sons came in, and grumbling and looking, giving the stink eye to one another, and the father said, I'd like you each to try to break this bundle of sticks. So first the youngest son tried to break it, but he couldn't. And he passed it to the middle son, and he tried to do it, and he couldn't break it. And finally the bundle was handed to the oldest son, who was the strongest, and he tried to break it, but he couldn't. And then the father said, I want you to untie the knot, and each of you take one of those sticks out. And I want you to try to break that stick. And of course, all 3 of them easily broke that stick. And he said, I don't know what's going on between the 3 of you. And I'm not in a place where I can fix it. But I want you to know that you need to work together, because individually, each of you will be easily broken. But together, you are stronger. Now, this is certainly a story about forgiveness and helping people understand the importance of being a family and sticking together. But it's also a story about unity. And that when people come together, even though they might have different opinions about a lot of different things, there's still things that unite peoples and families together, and those things make us strong. Those things make us to be able to be strong and stay together long into the future. So that's the end of our story today, and now our lovely choir.
If you've not had a chance, I encourage you to read the music notes that tell the story behind that song and the collaboration, the multicultural collaboration that made that come to be. As we prepare for a time of prayer and meditation, I invite you to take a deep breath in and out, and another in and out. Pausing, we still ourselves before a sense of something larger than we are. A power some call God, and that we all know as mystery. But for all we do not know, may we grow to accept our limits, knowing ourselves as finite and marvelous, fragile and fiercely loved. In the stillness, we also sense one another, a palpable reminder that we are not alone. May we relax into our togetherness, trusting the care and kindness we know are possible within and between us. And in this quiet, we also remember all those who suffer, who do feel alone, afraid, at risk. We mourn the senseless loss of life, the unnecessary violence in too many places, from Ukraine to Gaza to Sudan. May there be more peace, more humane respect extended across the lines of conflict in small and even larger ways. We pray also for our own nation, as the aftermath of a historic conviction and the looming election further fracture our connections to neighbors, family, friends, and strangers. Amidst the turmoil, may we resist demonizing those who are different, even as we hold fast to our own values in our own thoughts, words, and deeds. Through all the fog of conflicts, national, global, and interpersonal, may we remember the gift of returning to stillness, of reconnecting to the sacred life and love sustaining us each day, every moment. So may we rest now, allowing the stillness and our togetherness to wash over us. Once a month. Once a month, Craig. Can I have the handheld, please? Once a month, we leave space in the service for us to share our joys and sorrows, concerns with each other. And if you wish, come forward, say your name, and add a stone to the water. And I'm going to just start today on the theme of togetherness. And as we approach the end of my first year here, I just smile to look out and see people who I know have been members for decades, people who I know are visiting for the very first time, people who are leaders within our Unitarian Universalist Association visiting today, and members of my former congregation who are visiting today. And wow, what a gift every week to reassemble a community of togetherness. So thank you to each of you for being here today, for whatever reason. And I now invite you to come and I'll add, that's my joy, and to come and share your own joys and sorrows.
I'm Barbara Martin, and I have a joy this morning which is also laced with sorrow. I just learned from our congregational leaders that the Reverend Ken McLean, who was the minister in my church when I was in junior high and high school, has just passed away in his 90s after a very rich, full life at the church in Knoxville and then at Cedar Lane in Bethesda, Maryland, and then related, I think, to Palm Springs. He went on, and I knew him over the years. I've seen him, but hearing this morning that he had passed away made me think of how important he was to my image of what it meant to be a minister, what it meant to think and to question and to keep going. And it is a joy to remember how much he meant to me and my family, and to think of all the UU ministers who play that role for so many people, and ministers in all faiths. But particularly this morning, I am thinking about being a UU and someone who is very important in my being one, and whose story, as I recall, of how he became drawn into the UU faith was that the woman who I think was later to be his wife, they were not yet married, was on her way to church in Boston, and her shoestring broke outside Arlington Street, and so therefore she was not going to be able to make it on time to whatever church she was headed toward. And she went into Arlington Street, and it changed her life, and then later it changed his, and many people after him. So for serendipity and wonderful ministers.
I'd like to express my joy for the last anthem. I couldn't sit still. It made me joyful. It made me dance. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Lorna Lynch. Been here since the 90s, sometime, early 90s. I'm just reacting at first to hearing about Ken McLean's death. He married me in West Roxbury. At that time, he was the minister of Roslindale, Jamaica Plain, and West Roxbury. So that's where I got my early experience as a soloist. I also want to appreciate the Carnival of the Animals today, because yesterday, a young man who's been coming to play for us at Hale House for a year and a half, he said, we celebrated, and he played the Swan Song yesterday for us, because he's leaving Boston, where he grew up. His family was in Belmont. And he graduated yesterday or the day before from MIT, I guess it was. And now he's going to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore to become a medical doctor. And it is just wonderful to see somebody like that who will come and so cater to those of us here, no matter what their level of ability was. He's a wonderful teacher, and he will certainly be a wonderful doctor.
Good morning, everybody. My name is John Clark, and I wanted to put this stone in there for David Reno and his wife, Anna. Heather and I went over there last week to visit them, and David's really laid up. He had his knee replaced, so I'm sure they could really use some company, or please send them a card at least to know that we're all thinking of them and that we love them and that we care about it. And we can get his address online. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone of the outpouring of love you've shown to all of us since I've been here. It's my third season now, and it feels, brand new every day and every week, and in some cases it is. But it is our last Joys and Concerns before the choir takes some time off, and I just wanted to have you give them a single round of applause and appreciation because they work so hard, and I'm so grateful for every single person that's here. They have a unique personality and gift that they bring to every single thing, and they love doing it for you, and they've had so much fun being a part of Joys and Concerns. Alex is sick today. He always comes up and gives us an update. So he's a little sick today. He has a show later on. I don't know if he'll make it for that, but he will be back next week, hopefully, and that'll be his last Sunday. So, and we have new people coming in. So it's wonderful, the old and the new, and just keep cycling. So it's a wonderful thing. So thank you so very much for all your love and support. We really appreciate it.
I didn't know we could take handfuls. I'm going to do a handful myself. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, I'll only do one then. So, hi, Dan. I was inspired by the comment about medicine, and mine is a concern and also a form of optimism. I work in the medical field, and I'm very troubled by the shifts that American medicine is taking towards profit and mergers and profiteering sometimes, whereas really the system is meant to heal. At the same time, I just took a new role at a medical school where I work, where I'm focusing on community-centered medical education. And just yesterday, I went with a group of dental students and medical students to work on a farm in Lincoln with a group called the Food Project that both does youth programs and then with the food that's grown, all organic, all artisanal, they donate it to local food pantries. And I've met other groups like Community Servings and Friendship Works and the Mission Hill Health Movement and others, which are these incredible community-based organizations. And the students having access to them, I think, is showing them that another way is possible. So I'll take two, one for the community and one for the students. Thanks.
And on the theme of medical things, I just want to say also our child care providers, Sheila and Laura, have been with us all year, and they'll be here next Sunday too, but they're out there playing with Dan's kids, I believe. And Laura will not be returning next fall because she has been accepted to medical school. So if you see her, give her a congrats. And I know that in a room full of people, there are many more joys and sorrows that rest in our hearts. And so I add stones for each of those. And now is our offering, also known as Moment of Gratitude. As you're able, please contribute to the life and work of this congregation, if for no other reason for the ritual of giving. and reminding of how important giving and receiving are in our lives.
The Swan by Ogden Nash. The swan can swim while sitting down. For pure conceit, he takes the crown. He looks in the mirror over and over and claims to have never heard of Pavlova.
Have you heard the phrase, spiritual but not religious? I trust many of you have. It's been floating around for a while now. A 2018 New Yorker article had this to say: Americans are leaving organized religion in droves. They disagree with their churches on political issues. They feel restricted by dogma. They're deserting formal organizations of all kinds. Instead of atheism, however, they're moving toward an identity captured by the term spirituality. Approximately 64 million Americans, 1 in 5, identify as spiritual but not religious, or SBNR. They, like Atlantic reader Ken Baer, reject organized religion, but maintain a belief in something larger than themselves. That something can range from Jesus to art, music, and poetry. There is often yoga involved. But here we are, a group of people choosing to spend time together in a church. No yoga currently on offer. Still, we attend. Why? What brings us together in shared religious life? Why not just go it alone? All last month, we talked about the value of freedom. For many, religious life signifies a lack of freedom, as in being told what to think and how to act. However, as part of a liberal religious tradition, we have long championed freedom of religion, freedom to believe differently about key theological ideas, from the nature of God to what happens after we die. We have also supported many freedoms for how people choose to live, supporting women's reproductive choices, same-sex marriage, transgender folks, and more. All this freedom raises a critical question, though. Doesn't this also mean people are free to just walk away from religious life? The cultural pressure to belong to a church has certainly waned. In fact, you may sometimes feel the opposite pressure to downplay that you're a churchgoer, or to quickly explain that you're not that kind of churchgoer. To be clear, attending church is a minority activity, with only 3 in 10 Americans attending religious services weekly or almost every week. And the number of young adults is even lower, with only 22% attending regularly. The decline has been swift. Just 20 years ago, say 2004, shortly after my predecessor, the Reverend Stephen Kendrick, would have arrived here, 20 years ago, the number of people attending regularly was about 10% higher. Reading such articles about religion in America sometimes makes me wonder, is supporting a formal religious institution a lost cause? Should I have become a yoga teacher instead of a minister? But then I read other articles that declare a crisis of loneliness, other research that reports pessimism towards the state of moral values in the U.S. And there is no shortage of books, podcasts, and memes offering to help you find a sense of purpose and direction in your life. Encountering these kinds of articles in media confounds me. On the one hand, I believe that religious life can help people feel more connected to others, deepen a sense of moral compass, and ground people in a sense of purpose. On the other hand, I'm not sure that's what people think we're up to here. For many years, I have thought that the primary headwind for liberal religious institutions like ours was being lost amidst the noise of conservative religious voices. For more than a few people, being religious means being anti-gay, anti-Muslim, anti-trans, anti-choice, anti-science, and anti-more. As a counterpoint to loud conservative religious viewpoints, we certainly should be clear about how we as Unitarian Universalists are widely inclusive of people, deeply committed to reason and science, and supportive of many pathways to finding spiritual inspiration. However, I have become increasingly concerned that we face another headwind as a liberal religious institution as well, namely, an overemphasis on the individual. If the freedom and experience of individuals is our central message, then what can we say to counter the move to be spiritual but not religious? Why bother joining a religious group? What does being part of a religious institution add to the spiritual seeking individual? The freedom of individual conscience is a significant part of our religious tradition, but it is not the only foundation for our identity as a church. Fortunately, there is another thread in our tradition, that of covenant. Indeed, it was the creation of a covenant that founded our church on July 30th, what year? 1630, great. We've been around for a while. Traditionally, signing on to the covenant or its successor documents is what it means to sign the book and become a member. So what is a covenant? In our responsive reading, which Bill was supposed to lead that I forgot. Bill, do you want to lead it? Let's lead it right now. Do you want to come? Bill will do it better than I will. I know Bill will do it better. We have this problem all year, haven't we? I thought we'd gotten rid of that problem. I know, we did. Okay, here. Okay, 591 in the Gray Hymnal. Here's our responsive reading, and it talks about covenant.
It's Bill Greger, and without grace to remind me, I have troubles. In the back of your hymnal, number 591, or on a sheet of paper that you've printed out in large typeface, a responsive reading, I Call That Church Free, by James Luther Adams. I call that church free, which enters into covenant with the ultimate source of existence, that sustaining and transforming power not made with human hands. It binds together families and generations, protecting against idolatry of any human claim to absolute truth or authority. This covenant is the charter and responsibility and joy of worship in the face of death as well as life. I call that church free, which brings individuals into a caring, trusting fellowship that protects and nourishes their integrity and spiritual freedom that yearns to belong to the Church Universal. It is open to insight and conscience from every source. It bursts through rigid tradition, giving rise to new and living language, to new and broader fellowship. It is a pilgrim church, a servant church on an adventure of the Spirit. The goal is the prophethood and priesthood of all believers, the one for the liberty of prophesying, the other for the ministry of healing. It aims to find unity in diversity under the promptings of the Spirit that bloweth where it listeth and maketh all things new.
That reading shows the key elements of covenant. First, there is a rootedness and a greater power or understanding. And second, there are mutual promises that bind the parties together. In other words, covenant has both a horizontal element and a vertical element. The horizontal element connects the people, making the promises to one another, forming the church. The vertical element places all the people in relationship to a larger vision or understanding, which some have called God. You also see both elements in the 1630 covenant that establishes First Church in Boston. The Puritans first appeal to the God of their understanding, naming the Lord Jesus Christ our head. And the covenant ends with promises to walk in all our ways in mutual love and respect each to other. In this way, the 1630 covenant grounds the promises to one another within a larger commitment to a shared religious understanding. Today, we recite an affirmation at the start of each worship service, which also includes language of covenant. This affirmation was written by the Reverend James Villa Blake in 1894 for the Evanston, Illinois Unitarian congregation he served. You will find it in the back of your gray hymnal, and it is recited in countless UU congregations today. The words call us both to promises of how we strive to live together and points to the larger frame that holds those promises, the spirit of love and the law of service. By calling us into relationship with each other within larger frameworks of meaning, covenants underscore our interrelatedness. In this way, they counter the drifts into an individualism that risks severing our ties to one another. To be clear, there is still space for individuality, for the blessed diversity of human difference and distinctiveness among us. But the covenantal call to be in relationship restrains individuality from becoming an individualism that centers the self without regard for others. Covenant calls us into mindful awareness that we live within an interwoven web of mutuality. Speaking of the power of covenant, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs wrote, quote, "A contract is about interests. A covenant is about identity. It is about you and me coming together to form an us. That is why contracts benefit, but covenants transform. Saying yes to a covenant transforms you, making you part of something larger than yourself. Saying yes to a covenant makes you part of an us." 12 years ago, UU minister Frederick Muir delivered the distinguished Berry Street Lecture at the 2012 General Assembly of UU Congregations in Phoenix, Arizona, I believe. Entitled From iChurch to Beloved Community, it begins with a warning and a question. Pointing to the significant decline of the British Unitarian Church, Muir asks, is the United States next? Among the challenges he names is the same thread of individualism that I have been questioning. Pointing to the Emersonian dictum, men are less together than we are alone, Muir cautions that a robust individualism leads where Emerson points. the demise of institutional religion. Without a healthy sense of us to bind people together in common purpose, a religious institution falters, frays, and risks dissolving. As an alternative to individualism, Muir also turns to our covenantal tradition as well as to a vision of the beloved community. This vision celebrates what the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. called an inescapable network of mutuality. In the beloved community, the story of us is at the center. And while the us seeks to highlight our connections to each other, it does not seek to eradicate our differences, our individuality. Rather, the beloved community seeks to foster a diverse, multicultural us shaped by love and justice for all. We are more together than we are alone. There is, I believe, an abundance that emerges in togetherness. When there is an us, there is something more than the sum of the parts. Not only is the work lighter when shared with others, there is also an added sense of shared purpose that permeates the experience. Joining with others generates an alchemical reaction that exceeds the individual elements, like when we hear two pianos play together and a whole new musical experience is born. We are more together than we are alone. Life can be lonely and hard. Purpose can feel dim or unclear. Knowing the right thing to do in a difficult situation can be challenging. And while I cannot promise that belonging to First Church in Boston or Unitarian Universalism will solve all your problems, I do believe that coming together in a spirit of love and service can transform lives. I do believe that the vision of a beloved community is compelling, especially for a religious institution seeking to remain spiritually relevant to a diverse, multicultural world. And I do believe that moving away from individualism towards a story of us better responds to the spiritual hunger of people who feel lonely and adrift in a fractious world. We are a people of covenant, joined together since 1630 in promises of mutual care, grounded in a shared faith that we live within a larger framework of purpose and power. As we seek to continue to thrive as a congregation, may we not lose sight of the strength of a story of us. May we find joy and abundance in being together, knowing that with others, we are indeed more than we are on our own. So may it be. Amen. And our closing hymn is We Laugh, We Cry. I love this hymn. I've sung it in many places, and I laugh because I've heard it played many, many different ways, and I see Bob, and I've never heard it played with two pianos. So this is exciting. So please, well, please rise in body or in spirit to sing together 354. Okay, so now that hymn is completely ruined, because how do you sing it again after that? That was great, and thank you. Let us extinguish our chalice. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Sustained by our connections to each other and to all that is holy, let us love with abundance, welcome across difference, and work together to build a more just and sustainable world for all. Amen.